Can I ask you about writing the book? Because this is
Sure.
one of the, what's quite funny is that as you go through your career, you look at, you mentioned before about intrinsic and extrinsic motivators and things that
Hmm.
people want. And a lot of people would love to write a book. Can I ask you both, what is yours about? And then also, how did you go through the process of writing it, I guess, from scratch to almost where you are now?
Yeah. So my book is it's called Bottom of the Food Chain, and it's a fresh perspective on how your career impact goes beyond your job title. And so with that long title, it really is about understanding that no matter what organizational ecosystem you find yourself in, and no matter what position, we each have a very valuable part to play in making it work. You can look at any system that has different cogs, and if one cog stops working, that is going to affect the rest. And it's the same thing with any organization. Um, it can really limit that. And I think a lot of people, especially when they're in the bottom level roles
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
entry level roles, junior level, they think, well, because I'm in this role, what I'm doing isn't essential. Like, no one will miss me if I don't do my job. But it is noted. Just because it isn't
Yeah,
stated
yeah.
doesn't mean it's not noted. As far as the process, it was a fun process until it got to marketing. uh, and I didn't think about marketing until the book was almost done. It could have been probably more enjoyable had I thought about marketing early on. But with writing the book, it was really just about finding a way to express what I had dealt with, to express what the individuals who I had spoken with, what they have dealt with, and put it on paper in a book that would have been helpful for me,
Yeah. Can I
would have
ask you
been an
about your
encouragement
your
for me.
process? So almost because I know about six friends that are trying to write a book at the moment. Did
Yeah.
you like convince yourself to write 500 words a day, or how did you break
Oh,
it down
okay.
into chapters and you did it one at a time, or did you just build up bits and pieces over 5 years and then you kind of brought it together?
So for that process, it was, oh my gosh, what do you call the word? I don't know. Some people call it pantser. So essentially I was all over the place. But so some people like to do outlines. For me, it was
Mm-hmm.
more like a spider web
Yep.
where I started out with the core idea in the middle. And then I said, so what are different ways that I can support this core idea? And
Mm-hmm.
that core idea was value in the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
So I had those core ideas that stemmed from there. And then it was another circle in, okay, so how can I support that idea? So that was the initial process. And then it was a matter of writing it out. And I just wrote. I, for the initial one, I didn't worry about necessarily how it was worded. I didn't necessarily worry about bringing in any additional stories. It was just getting it on paper.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went back and added in some stories where
Yeah.
I felt like maybe this is a bit of a lull here. And then the editing process is tedious, but going back and editing and getting beta readers to read
Mm-hmm.
and see what they thought about it, see if the goal that I wanted was met or the interpretation was picked up on what I wanted to be interpreted as, and then write it again.
But
So
it's
lots
so
of,
cool.
yeah.
Because the other thing as well is that with working for yourself as you do,
Mhm.
it's why should people hire you against someone else? And just as
Yeah.
a pure unit of social proof entity, authors are cool. And then likewise, what I always find quite funny is that if you go to a TED event or whichever, it almost doesn't matter what someone's backstory is. It's always author of this book, if that makes sense.
Right.
But my point being that actually when you're looking to raise awareness on your services to get people to hire you for speaking gigs and different things, when you've got that to fall back on, it's a brilliant marketing tool that you can send it to people and you've got it on your website. That instantly your credibility is already here because you have
Yes.
something that not everyone does. And I think that's part of the reason why I like to people watch quite a lot. And there are certain things that people want almost as status signifiers. So like CEO, founder, you've got business owner, you've got TEDx speaker, author, but it's people, especially on LinkedIn, they like to collect their badges, but it is seen as a very cool And it is, because it's really difficult to do. Because ironically, the first book I ever tried to write was when I was doing my PhD, and I'm very into my photography stuff. And it was a bride's guide to wedding photography. So I was very good at taking photos, but I wanted to teach brides what to look for in venues, in photographers, in cameras, what makes a good photographer, and it was just, I put together the bones, but I just could never, I was too busy with other stuff. And there will be millions of people out there that have started, they've got the outline, but they've never, anyone that can actually execute to get something, anything across the line has done
Yeah.
something really special, because 90% of people will never get to that point. But because it's, something that everyone is interested in, I think it's cool. It's,
Yeah. And another thing as well, I guess I should add is I was working a full-time job at the time when I started. It probably took me a year total, but I would wake up early.
mhm.
Like, so if I had to be to work at, I think it was like 7:30 in the morning. So I would wake up at like 5 before the kids got up, and then I would also go to bed late. So after the kids were
Wow.
asleep, I would stay up and I would just type because I couldn't get the thoughts out of my
Yeah,
head at
yeah.
that point. So there does come a certain point where if you commit to it, um, then it will start to become easier. Like as far as waking up early, staying up late, or just doing what you need to do to get it on paper.